Today I would like to talk about the flat earth and whether or not we have a flat earth. Let me adjust this just slightly. I hope it doesn't give you problems. So most of us take a look at the map of the world, and a flattened map of the globe looks like this. This is my Pandamopoly map, but it is an accurately portrayed depiction of what most of us believe the Earth looks like when flattened out as a globe. And this, on the other hand, is the picture of what one would depict as the flat Earth. And the flat Earth, as you can see, has an ice boundary all around it. The oceans are significantly bigger, and the center of the Earth, as portrayed on the flat Earth map, is in the northern hemisphere. And the European continent spread out to Africa, the Asian continent spread out toward Australia, as you can see in the upper right-hand corner, and the bottom of the map shows North America and then South America. And as you can see from the map, the southern hemisphere is much farther apart than is the northern hemisphere. And so when I thought about playing with how one could determine whether a flat Earth made any sense at all, I looked at what it would take to go from points that are equally north in North America and equally south, or equally north in the northern hemisphere and equally south in the southern hemisphere. So I looked at and obtained a line. As you can see this line across here, there's a line with points. And the line with points goes from clear over here at the date line to Los Angeles, Atlanta, Georgia, Casablanca, Morocco, Baghdad, Iraq, and Osaka, Japan, and then out to the date line again. And in the southern hemisphere, also 30 degrees latitude, give or take a degree, I go from the date line to Montevideo, Uruguay, Cape Town, South Africa, Perth, Australia, Sydney, Australia, and back out to the date line. So in a global world where one conceives that latitudes north and south would have the same diameter as you go horizontally, those distances ought to be relatively the same. And in fact, they're within a couple, that distance as measured by www.timeandDate.com/wordclock/distance.html, when I ran it through and totaled up this distance across here and this distance across here, I came up with about the same distances and the same proportionalities to the map. So measuring across North America, if you were flying that distance, you would get about 20,000 miles, and measuring across the southern third degree parallel, you'll get almost the same distance, almost a little less than 20,000 miles. So how does that compare with the flat Earth? And when I began to look at the flat Earth and tried to decide, can I make sense of it? Number one, not that I believe it, but that I believe in making proper sense of what it is that people take seriously, okay? I take the people who take flat Earth seriously, even though I don't take their proposition seriously. So I took a look at the flat Earth map, and I drew the same the same trip on the flat Earth map as I had made in the north and south hemispheres of the other map. So in this map, the north hemisphere is the orange line that goes from, let me see if I can get it, from Los Angeles to Atlanta, from Atlanta to Casablanca, Casablanca to Baghdad, Baghdad to Osaka, and Osaka to Los Angeles. And that all stayed at the 33rd parallel latitude. And on the southern hemisphere, here's Montevideo, Uruguay. Here's Cape Town, South Africa. Here's Perth, Australia. Here is Sydney, Australia. And coming clear across this diagonal, we're back to Montevideo, Uruguay. Let me see if I can make sure that you get this in the picture. So if the world is a globe, then it would stand to reason that the 33rd parallel north and the 33rd parallel south going through those cities would be approximately the same. And that's in fact what I found, as I've just said. Give or take a couple percentages, they are a little under 20,000 miles, both the north and the south. Now, on the other hand, when I look at, and I'll see if I can focus this now, when I look at what would have to be, give me just a second here, the flat Earth map, what I come up with is that the northern tier trip across these 5 points is less than half as many miles as the southern tier trip. And in fact, had there been another point over here somewhere in the Pacific, which is what I should maybe have done, it would actually have been more like 2.5 or 3 times farther to circumnavigate what a global person would say would be a trip around the 33rd latitude in a globe versus the flat Earth. So using only two-dimensional geometry, we can prove whether a flat Earth is a viable concept or is not a viable concept. If flat Earth is a viable concept, then the distances that one sees on a proportionally shaped, properly designed map would work the same as it does, in fact, the actual measurements. And both with the point-to-point measurements that I got with the timeanddate.com, as well as flight times for jets from one point to the next, although it was hard for me to find flight trips, would be relatively consistent with the flat Earth if the distances and times for those flights match the flat Earth drawing, or consistent with a globe of the Earth if the points from point A to point B match the distances that one would find in both the northern and southern hemisphere if you were looking at it from a global perspective and actually going around the Earth as a globe. And what I found from the time and date comparison of distances with both the round Earth conception and the flat Earth conception is that the flat Earth conception is off by a factor of about 2.2. In other words, the distances that are portrayed on a flat Earth map are exaggerated on the southern hemisphere by more than double. In other words, there is no comparative rational explanation for a flat Earth if in fact the distances in the southern hemisphere are disproportionately and overestimated from the flat Earth as they would be if you actually measured those distances. So, as a for instance, the distance from Sydney, Australia to Montevideo, Uruguay is 2.5 or 3 times further than it would actually be on a global perspective if you looked at the round map flattened and used the measurements given to us by the timeanddate.com references. So the point of the matter is then, without me beating on this, is that in order for the flat Earth to work, distances throughout the Earth have to make sense on a flattened map. And because they don't make sense on a flattened map and the distances are way off on a flattened map, especially in the southern hemisphere, there is no explanation that makes the flat Earth work. The only way that you could make the distances proportional is to suck the Earth up off the flat surface and make it more conical shaped. And if you were only doing the 33rd parallels north and south, then you would, by making it a cone, you would even things back out. But absent that, it doesn't work. And since the flat Earth people obviously don't believe, or not a cone, I mean a cylinder. Since the flat Earth people do not believe that the Earth is a cylinder, these measured distances do not work. So there is my two-dimensional geometric proof that the flat Earth concept cannot be made to work. And I challenge the flat Earth people and ones who post with me to post a comment and tell me how it is that they reconcile this inconsistency. But for the rest of us, it is just one more way of visiting the Aristotelian determination that Aristotle made. That's why we get to Aristotelian. That the Earth was in fact round, and he was within a few percentages of correct for the circumference of the Earth at the time he made those determinations before the birth of Christ. So it was an amazing calculation, and for most of us it still holds true today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my playful little adventure into the concept of flat Earth. Thank you so much. And if you like it, you see this thumb? It takes up the whole Earth, doesn't it? Give a thumbs up, and if you'd like to subscribe, thank you so much for watching. This has been fun.